This is the Purulion, na? I'm not going to get it. This is Pvsm, right?
This is how fast YouTube is with Brave. Notice how there's no pre-roll ads? And here's how you can see how much time you save with Brave.
You just focus on this. You can start again from starting paragraph.
I'll just check, sir. This is which version? This is which version of the email?
Hello.
This is.
If you mind.
It was from NC.
All cadets keep their mind. हाँ सर हाँ वो भी सर इधर है सर मैं उधर देख लीजिए ना
very good positive.
हाँ हाँ
I can't talk about Corona coconut water. I can't talk about Corona beer.
Yeah, without any remix. With a full more.
Actually, yes. If you had that, because it was the right thing that that's what I was.
Just one second. Yeah, if you match it. Okay, yeah. No, it's a wonderful aircraft. It's a pleasure to fly. First sortie in the Tejas. I think it's a good aircraft for the Air Force to be. Thank you. You enjoyed the trip. And you gave me the controls for flight. This is the time I'm doing the takeoff. You have to give it to me for landing as well. And I can see how it starts. Yeah. Thank you so much. I said in that week, he was calling out the instruments.
Cadets, good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. Clearly and visible.
Can you see the slide on your screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you see that the slides were changing and photographs were being presented?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Now, please listen to me very carefully that you all are going to keep your mics in silent mode until unless you are told to ask a question. If you wish to ask a question, you are requested to raise your hand. On indication only, you will ask a question. Prior asking a question, the bottom line is very simple. Okay, so could you see the slides changing in front of you? I'm going to change the slides. Okay, you guys have to confirm it to me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Same.
Very good. Thank you. So this is the photograph of sir when he was at our school. He was a hockey player also. This is the photograph where he has served the school as vice captain, school vice captain. Okay, second from right at NDA.
I'll just have to check, sir, what the exact version has find out. Sir, this is which version? This is which version of an alien? This is. Yes, it is a down. It was from.
Good morning, sir. Sir, am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You are audible loud and clear, sir. We can see you and we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Thank you.
Jain sir, we will be starting in a short while, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes. The principal is getting connected from the other computer and will be starting soon. Thank you.
Comment, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning. So may I have permission to start, sir? Please go ahead. Good morning, cadets, ladies, gentlemen, teachers, and all my friends. It is a great privilege and honor to have Air Chief Marshal Arup Raha amongst us today to address all our audience. Well, Air Chief Marshal Arup Raha needs no introduction. But for the benefit of our new candidates, I'll speak a few words about him. But please remember, whatever I'm going to tell now is only the tip of the iceberg, because the achievements and the accolades which the Air Chief Marshal has received over the years is immense. To start with, Air Chief Marshal Arup Raha passed out from Sainik School, Purulion in the year 1970. Air Chief Marshal Arup Raha, Param Vishesh Seva Medal, Ati Vishesh Seva Medal, Vice Sena Medal, and ADC, went on to graduate from the National Defence Academy, Pune, and won the President's Gold Medal in the year 1973. And he was commissioned in the Flying Branch in the year 1974 in the month of December. Air Chief Marshal Raha is an experienced fighter pilot and a Cat A qualified flying instructor. He is also a fighter combat leader with more than 3,400 hours of flying experience, mainly of fighter aircraft. The Air Chief Marshal has also served as directing staff at two premier institutes of the Indian Air Force, which is the Flying Instructor School and the Tactics and Combat Development Establishment. He has functioned as the inspector in the Directorate of Air Staff Inspection in Air Headquarters and also as the staff officer of the Chief of the Air Staff. The Air Chief Marshal was also deputed as the military and air attaché in the Embassy of India, Kiev, Ukraine from 1999 to 2001. He has held many operational assignments, such as commanding officer of MiG-29 Squadron, station commander of Air Force Station Batinda during Op Parakram, Air Officer Commanding Air Force Station Adhampur at Anwad's headquarters, Western Air Command, Chanti Mandir. He also served as the Deputy Commandant Air Force Academy, Hyderabad, and Senior Air Staff Officer at Headquarters, Western Air Command. The Air Chief Marshal has a rare distinction of being the Air Officer Commanding in Chief of two operational commands, that is, the Central Air Command and also the Western Air Command, before he took over as the Vice Chief of Air Staff. Finally, he went on to become the Chief of the Air Staff on 31st December 2014. He is currently the Commodore Commandant of 47 Squadron. Air Chief Marshal Raha is an alumnus of Defence Services Staff College and also the National Defence College, Delhi. For his distinguished service, he has been awarded Param Vishesh Seva Medal, Ati Vishesh Seva Medal, and also Vice Sena Medal. He was appointed as honorary aide-de-camp to the Honorable President of India with effect from 1st December 2012 during his tenure as the Air Chief Marshal. Air Chief Marshal is married to Mrs. Lily Raha and has two children. The elder one son, Atanu Raha, is serving as a senior captain with Go Air, and his daughter, Anushri Raha, is an Indian Economic Service Officer and who is currently serving with the Finance Ministry and also happens to be a TED talker. With that little introduction, I'm not taking too much of a time. I'll straight away hand you over to Air Chief Marshal Arup Raha. So over to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you clearly, sir.
Right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. On the occasion of the Diamond Jubilee anniversary year of Sainik School Purulion, 60 years of its establishment, I want to convey my warm greetings to the principal, Group Captain Prabhar, the Vice Principal, the Registrar, Headmaster, and other important functionaries of the school, the esteemed faculty of teachers, members of the staff, and the members of the SPN alumni, especially the senior people, and of course, dear students of the senior classes of the school. I'm very happy to have been invited by the principal to address the school and the SPN community on this very special, year of the Diamond Jubilee year of the school, because I think the school has achieved a lot. From the time it was established in, I think, January 1962, with meager resources, very small campus, very few buildings, very few assets. But the people who established this school, especially the legendary, visionary principal, Colonel S. Majumdar, and his selected, teams of teachers, staff, and of course, the senior armed forces and appointments in the school had done wonderful work to set up the ground rules, the ethos, traditions, and the practices, and the importance of outdoors, academic curriculum, etc., cultural events. So all these things, with his visionary, approach, I think he laid the foundation of the school on a very strong setting, and on which the subsequent, generations of, I would say, important functionaries of the school, teachers, staff, and including the senior or even junior, SPN alumni contributed very, very effectively to build the school to the state that it is in today. From the old site, it moved to the new site in 1966, if I'm not wrong, and which was a barren land, totally deserted land with a few buildings and a dusty area, no trees, no shade at all. But today, with so much of effort of all these generations of officers, teachers, staff, and the alumni association, I think we got tremendous amount of infrastructure. It's one of the best schools, not only in West Bengal, but I think in entire India. So we should be all proud of the work put in by our predecessors for getting the school to this standard today. So we should celebrate that. Obviously, the Diamond Jubilee anniversary year is being celebrated, and I was very happy that I have been invited to address on this occasion. We all know that disruption of the academic as well as the growth of the students have been very adversely affected across the world, entire humankind, I would say, in India especially, and that too in schools like Sainik School Purulion, which is a residential school with a lot of emphasis on group activities and outdoors, has suffered maximum because of the Wuhan virus pandemic, which started in China, and it's actually disrupted the life and disoriented the entire humankind for the last 1 year, 9 months or so, and still continue to actually adversely affect all of us, the entire humankind. It is, to my mind, it has had devastating effect, comparable or in fact worse than the combined effect of the First and the Second World War. We have lost to the pandemic more than, I think, 46 lakhs of people across the world. More than 23 crores of people have contracted the disease, and the disease is not ending. The mutants, variants are still affecting the countries across the world. We do not know when we'll be able to control this pandemic, though vaccines are already out and a lot of people have been vaccinated, and it is trying to control the pandemic. But definitely it has affected and it will affect our lifestyle, livelihood, our economies, our job opportunities, education, societal and psychological, domains as well. So I think having this, web-based interaction today is an opportunity for us especially the SPN alumni to build that association in the interaction with the school where our roots are, our alma mater. Every year we come there to renew our association and to live those good times we have had in our school. So this web-based interaction is reviving that connection to the roots, to our alma mater. Thank you for that opportunity. Well, I was requested by the principal to speak about myself, about my career, about my responsibilities, and as a chief of the air staff or the senior most general of the Indian Armed Forces, the chairman chiefs of staff committee, the responsibilities I shouldered, the challenges I faced, and my experiences as such for the benefit of the students of the school. But I'm not a. It's very difficult to speak about oneself since I'm not a narcissist. I would avoid being a narcissist and speak about myself. But definitely, I'll speak about myself as requested. But I'll emphasize more the time we spent in the school and the type of schooling we had, about activities we had, the life as such, etc., and how the foundation of our careers were laid in the school, by our teachers, by our principal, by our senior appointments and functionaries of the school. So to start with, I think I'll say why and who inspired me to join the armed forces and obviously Sainik School Purulion. Everybody has somebody to inspire to achieve something in life or aim for something in life. In this case, in my case, it was my father. When my father graduated from the Calcutta Medical College, the oldest medical college, I think, in India, as a doctor, at that time, the Second World War was raging across, Europe, North, West Africa, as also the Far East, the Pacific, the Hawaii, and of course, Japanese got involved, and they were overrunning Southeast Asia, and the battle front had reached the eastern shores, eastern borders of India, the Myanmar or Burma border. At that time, as soon as my father graduated as a doctor from Calcutta Medical College, he volunteered to join the army to serve in the Eastern Front, in the Myanmar or Burma front, to look after the injured soldiers with war injuries, etc. So I heard a lot of stories about his service in this front, and they are very, very interesting. The difficulties in terms of the doctors and the soldiers, not only fighting that war, the injuries that they sustained, and the main problem was, I think, the mosquitoes, and I think malaria was, more people died of malaria than battle injuries. So that itself is a different chapter. I think we'll speak about it later sometimes when there is an opportunity. But definitely, within a year or so, when he served in the Eastern Front, in Burma Front, the war came to an end. He left the service and he started his own practice in the village. So he wanted at least one of his children. We have six siblings, 5 brothers and a sister, and I'm the second last sibling. And he wanted at least one of us should be an officer in the Indian Armed Forces. So that responsibility, that mantle fell on me. And that's why I prepared myself to join Sainik School Purulion so that I could be an officer in the Indian Armed Forces. Well, I studied in the village school before I joined Sainik School Purulion in 1965 January. This school had only one teacher, and we are being taught from class 1 to 5, a single teacher, just about 35 to 40 students, boys and girls. So I remember, when I joined class 1 there, my mother made sure that I worked very hard, studied, double time, so that I could submit my, assignments and the classes and the lessons twice a day, so that I could finish class 1 and 2 in 1 year itself. and I succeeded in clearing all that. My teacher was very happy, so he gave me a double promotion. From class 1, he sent me to class 3. Actually, it benefited me, and that is one of the reasons I think I became the chief of the air staff. Okay, the date of birth and your qualification when you sort of passed out in the 10th standard did matter. So when I joined the school in January, I think second week of January, I don't remember the date, my eldest brother brought me by train to Purulion, and from the station, he brought me by cycle rickshaw with a small bedding and a holder and a small trunk with my clothes, etc. We came to Bongaigaon, where the old site is of the school. Now, I really enjoyed the sightseeing as we traveled about 3 kilometers to the school, noticing the undulating terrain and the hillocks, etc. The train lines, the road was studded with trees on either side, a lot of greenery, and I could see the Ramakrishna Mission across as we reached our campus, Sainik School campus. The campus was very green with a lot of trees in it, tall trees, and of course very few buildings. Some of them were single-story buildings, and some of them were like huts, or I would say dormitories with high roofs. So I was put up to the principal, not the principal, I would say the headmaster, who welcomed us, and we completed all the formalities of joining the school. And I handed over to Mr. T.P. Das, Tarapathu Das, very famous teacher, a Hindi teacher. He was the school, and he was the house teacher of Chittaranjan House. So he took me to one of the barracks, one of the dormitories, which had 3 different large rooms, with about 10 to 12 students staying in each room, each dormitory. So there I found that there are students of various classes, of seniority, of age group. Some are freshers, some are elderly people. We had 2 Sikh, Sardar boys. They're from the senior class. They all welcomed me, so I settled down there. On the first Sunday, when I finished my morning course and returned to my room, I found 2 people looking like sadhus with long beards and a loose hair. I just couldn't recognize them. I was actually shocked to see people with such gait. But then I realized that these are the 2 Sikh senior boys who had just taken a bath and washed their hair and the beard, and they tried to dry them. I could hardly ever differentiate between the 2, and I really, because they looked similar to me with their beard and the headgear. And this problem I had for some time till I joined service. But they are very nice people. After about 15 days, when I received a letter from my mother, I was in tears. I kept on reading that letter repeatedly. I became very homesick. I wanted to go back home and meet my mother. I could, kind of smell the sweet fragrance of my mother, the care that she took of the children, especially me, food, clothing, whatever it is there. So I really missed my mother that time, and I started sobbing sitting on my, on my bed. So these 2 Sikh boys came along, put their hands on my back and said, "Arup, why are you crying?" I said, "I've just received a letter from my mother and I'm feeling very homesick. I have to go home and meet my mother." I said, "Okay, you love your mother loves you, we also have our mothers. We also love them, they also miss us, but we are not going back home. She has sent you here to study. You have to do well in your studies to make a good career. And that is the reason they have sent you here. She is ready to accept, the loss of affection from you as a mother. And so you should be prepared to do well, use all your energies instead of crying, etc., and being emotional. Divert that energy to focus on your studies and outdoor activities. Do well so that when you go back home during the midterm, that is summer break and winter, seeing your results and achievements, your parents, especially your mother, will be very proud." So this convinced me that I need to actually concentrate on my studies and outdoors and do well. So this was a great lesson for me right in the beginning as I joined the school. I'm narrating this anecdote because it will help people to focus on the correct things. When I joined the school, I knew no Hindi. I knew very little English because I was from a Bengali medium school. So everything appeared Greek to me. The classes are being conducted either in Hindi or in English. So first 2-3 monthly tests, I failed in Hindi miserably because what I did was I used to just use Bengali sentences but write in Devanagari script. So obviously I failed in all those that subject. English was very weak for me as well. So I failed in almost all the subjects in the first monthly test. I had to put in a lot of hard work and a lot of assistance of the relevant from our teachers, my friends who are good in English, who came from English medium school, and Hindi medium schools, etc. So I gradually caught up with my deficiencies and became stronger in studies. And by the time the end of the year came, I passed in all the subjects, and some of the subjects I did very well, and I believe I got one of the positions in the class. I think it was third or something like that, but that's beside the issue. I'm very happy that I did well by the end of the term, and my parents are very happy to see my results. The principal, Colonel Majumdar, especially congratulated me because he knew my background, and having achieved that standard and having improved my academics, he congratulated me. I still remember that. Okay, in the school, let me narrate some more incidents or anecdotes. In the second month, that is in February that year, 1965, chicken pox, broke out in the school. A number of students contracted chicken pox. So one of the barracks, one of the dormitories was vacated, and it was converted into an isolation ward. Close to about 20 to 30 people, students, contracted the chicken pox and they put there in isolation ward. We were living in the ward which is just, and I would say not ward, the dormitory next to it. And every morning we would see these guys waking up very late, no classes, no PT, no studies, and they were listening to loud music, with the transistor tuned on to Binaga Gitmala, those days, Radio Ceylon was very famous. So we felt very envious. And we all prayed that we all should get, contract this chicken pox and go and stay there. So that is one incident I remember. And sure enough, all of us, I think God listened to our prayers. Almost all of us contracted these chicken pox and moved over. But for 3 years, we enjoyed that life. But after we came out, after we recovered and came out, we had to work very hard to make up the loss in terms of our studies and classes that we had missed. So that was very tough. So that is one incident. But related to this, my house master, Mr. Das, was quite fond of me. So one day he told me, Arup, you have come back from this chicken pox isolation ward. Now you are going to do one thing. You are going to eradicate chicken pox from this school. You are going to help Chittaranjan house by fumigating all the 15 rooms of the cadets stay. Using those dhunuchi, those earthen pots with some coconut shell covers and some ingredients which would actually be used, chemicals, to create nice smoke which would fumigate the buildings and rooms so that chicken pox would be eradicated. But there was no time for it. So Mr. Das suggested, you do one thing, you have 1 hour, 15 minutes break immediately after sports in the afternoon, when you take a bath, etc. So you get ready in the first 15 minutes, come to my quarter, which is just next to our actually billet, and he would give me those 2 earthen pots lit up with all the chemicals, etc., ingredients, creating a huge amount of smoke. And I went from room to room for almost an hour to fumigate the rooms. Though after about a month's time, chicken pox incidence reduced and everybody became okay and no further cases were there. So I cannot really take credit for having done the fumigation for the entire, Chittaranjan house. The other house was, I think, Patel house. Somebody else did it there. But I became quite famous. Even as a youngster and a junior person, just joined the school for 2, 3 months. Everybody knew me by name and they all called me Mamu. You know why? Because the school captain, Anubrato Bhadro, in the class 11, was my nephew. He was the son of my cousin sister. My cousin sister was about 25 to 30 years elder to me. And Anubrato was about 8, 10 years senior to me. So when I came to the school, he obviously used to call me Mamu because, I was in relation as senior. So everybody started calling me Mamu. So that is a very interesting anecdote for me. And people had a lot of respect for me, even if I was very junior, because the school captain was my nephew. So then, things settled down. We came back from the summer vacation, which was very, very eventful and interesting. And once we returned, Mr. Das again got hold of me. He said, Arup, you are going to look after the dhobi, clothes issue, and I would say, and returning it to the cadets in my block. So what I did is to collect all the clothes from the individuals. I'm sure the same tradition is still on. And the wash would come back from the dhobi, I'd collect it, account for it, and redistribute to the owners. So this job I did for almost 6 months. And I must tell you that I was rewarded for all the work that I did for the social service that I did in Chittaranjan house. Not that I was looking for any reward, I just love to work, take responsibilities, and do social work and good for everyone. So in the evening master one day, I think in the month of April, Mr. Das, our house teacher, came out with a folder and he said, today I'm going to announce stars and stripes. Stars for the people who have done well, contributed effectively for the house, and stripes for the people who have not brought good name to the house because of their failures and non-performance. So he called out my name, read out the citation, I was very happy. After 3 months again, one more session like that in the evening master, he gave me another star for having contributed towards dhobi service. So that is how I think I built up a reputation in the school right in my first year itself. And I remember one of my classmates, Jachamo Ism, a Naga boy, very lively guy, full of fun, all the time cracking jokes, keeping us in splits. All the classes are interesting because he was there. He would make some really interesting observations or make some comments. And he never studied. He was very intelligent, but he just didn't like studies. So he would fail every, monthly test repeatedly. So Mr. Das announced that the house awards strike to Jachamo. We felt very bad, but because he was a very nice person, a good human being, but that is how it was. So rewards, awards, and punishments is a part of our life. That is what we must accept. And we must work hard to do well, and especially we must do a lot of community service. Right. After having joined the school, there are a few more things I would like to highlight there, is that every Sunday we had to deposit a letter so that our parents and our next of kin, our guardians are not worried and they knew that we are doing well. This letter had to be handed over to the house master or the house captain, which must be the tradition even now. Then only we could get that 1 rupee pocket money. But 1 rupee was a lot of money those days. We had enough to buy our essentials for the month or for the week, and of course buy sweets and eatables, etc., and also go on a picnic or a hike or go to the town for some entertainment or shopping. So that is the kind of life we are leading. I'm sure it's the same even now. Cricket. Every Sunday morning After we finish breakfast, we charge off in proper gear, correct the correcting gear. From I think October to about April, we played cricket almost every Sunday. We made our own teams and we did well. In my class, we had two good cricketers, two or three. Like Shashank Chatterjee, doctor now. He used to bowl very fast. Nobody could stop that ball, not even the wicket keeper. So he gave a lot of bye runs. And, we had a good bat. I think Somnath and others knew how to bat well. And we had a very good leg break bowler, Shudipto. He's a marine engineer. And I remember those days, how we enjoyed those outings in cricket, etc. Games are important. All outdoor activities are important. We played all games: cricket, hockey, football, baseball, and so many other, basketball, volleyball, everything we played. And well, I was not good in any particular games, but I played all the games that represented the house and sometimes the school in certain games. So I'm not very good at games as such, I would say. But I liked NCC. National Cadet Corps training was very, very interesting for me. I remember participating with all the enthusiasm. Our teachers or the instructors, they took a lot of interest, and it really gave us a lot of pleasure participating in all the NCC camps, be it at Jabalpur, Almora, Hirakud, Republic Day Parade, etc. All these camps I attended and I thoroughly enjoyed them, made a lot of friends from other schools as well. The most important thing that we gain in the school, to my mind, is the foundation that was laid by our esteemed teachers, our principal, headmaster, and other dignitaries of the school in terms of building our character, giving us strength to our character, etc. The style of functioning of our teachers, the intensity and the dedication with which they work, their involvement in each and every student's performance, be it education, be it academics, be it outdoors, every sphere. They groomed us to be a good human being, a good person, and good in academics and outdoors as well. I must mention the names of these teachers during my time, who had contributed so effectively. Mr. Tas, he received national award for being a good teacher. There are many more. Mr. R.N. Mukherjee, who taught us mathematics, but he told us many stories about the Second World War, which is so interesting that maths became the most interesting subject in our class. We had Mr. S.K. Mukherjee, who taught us biology, very interesting. Mr. C.S. Mukherjee, who had taught us, I would say, chemistry. Mr. D.K. Banerjee taught us science in terms of physics. We had Mr. Jhan Srivastav, who taught us Hindi. Mr. N.K. Bhattacharya taught us English. Whatever English I've learned to speak and compose and think and do whatever in English is mainly because of the foundation he gave us in those 5-6 years in the school. Then we had Mr. Falguni Dasgupta, excellent art teacher of national acclaim. I attended many of his, shows, displays of his paintings. He now lives in Dehradun. He's a very famous artist of national recognition. We had Mr. Talit Dasgupta, who was actually the librarian, and he enthused all of us to go to the library, and we used to be there before the library timing start dates for the magazines, read them up, and catch hold of the books, the ones which came acquired by the library, and we would devour them in no time. So that is the kind of interest we had in reading. And reading is a very important aspect to build one's knowledge. We had Mr. Yugan and others. I think I may have forgotten some of the names, but they all are excellent teachers, great commitment to the students and to their job. And it's because of them that we have succeeded in our careers, in our professions. The bonding was exceptional in the school because of the type of activities. We made lifetime friends. My class was very, very special. We had only 23 or 24 students. And ours is the only class who had girl students as well. We had 3 girl students over various time frames. The daughters of the principal, or the headmaster, and the registrar, etc. I remember Ratna, the daughter of the principal. She studied with us in the senior classes. She became a doctor and joined the Indian Air Force. Today she is retired, I think settled in NCR, National Capital Region. Then we had Archana, also daughter of the headmaster. She attended classes with us. She became a doctor, and I think she is settled somewhere in either Lucknow or Nagpur, I'm not sure. I've lost touch with her. We also had another girl, daughter of the registrar, but she was there the year before I joined. So I think having girls in the class was unique, and I think we are better off. Sorry, because we knew how to treat women as equal. We knew it modified our behavior and outlook towards life, outlook towards women, which is so very essential. So I think the moderation in our behavior is one of the main aspects of having girls in our class. Okay. Most of my classmates, about 10 or 11 of them joined NDA. So we have 50% success. Others who didn't join NDA, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force, they became good doctors, good mariners, good engineers, good bank officials, and others. They did very well because of the grounding that we received in Science School Purulion. Our seniors were exceptional. Anubrata was my, of course, nephew, so I knew him very well. He and his brother, Swapan Bhadra, was not a product of the Science School, but he joined RIMC. Both are brothers and both are my nephews. So I actually got a lot of inspiration from them to join the armed forces. And Anubrata's brother, Anubrata became an Air Force officer. He is no more today. And Swapan Bhadra, my other nephew, brother of Anubrata, joined RIMC. He got the gold medal from there. He went to IMA, won the Sword of Honor. He joined the engineers and he did exceptionally well. But of course, he left service early. So that is the kind of seniors we had. We had, Haralu, Surabhi Haralu, exceptional sports person. He did exceptionally well in NDA and he joined the Air Force. I happened to meet him in 2-3 places during our postings, and he was a great guy. We had others who did exceptionally well in academics, in studies, in outdoors, etc. So I will not be able to name them all, but they are all in our minds. We always used to look to them. We are all in awe of their achievements, their success in NDA as an officer, etc. And they are our horizon. We wanted to follow them and achieve the results that they had achieved. And I think today, I'm not sure if Ashok Hajra attending this platform webinar, I would say, he was role number 1. We all remember him. I think in West Bengal governance residents had. That is the kind of people we had as teachers, as principals, as friends and seniors, which actually gave us the foundation. Now let me come to a little bit about NDA and Air Force Academy. Now NDA is perhaps the only unique institution, training establishment in the military, which is very, very unique. There is nowhere in the world, in any military, a similar institutions with all the 3 services of the cadets being trained together jointly for 3 years. The emphasis is on academics, professional subjects, and equally important is the outdoors. because it is through the difficult outdoors that the pressures that is exerted in fulfilling those outdoor and passing those outdoor activities, as also studying to pass your subjects and doing well in professional subjects especially, you are hardened to the limits, both psychologically, mentally, and physically, to be strong enough to lead people into battle where you know death could be waiting for you. So that is the kind of challenges you have as an officer in the armed forces. So the training obviously was in keeping with that in I would say, in NDA as well as in Air Force Academy. Air Force Academy is also unique. Nowhere in the world where you train the officers, cadets from each and every stream, be it flying, be it engineers, be it logistician, administration, fighter controllers, air traffic controllers, accounts, logistics, every department. Nowhere in the world you have Air Force Academy like institution, training establishment, which comprises everything, all branches. Now let me tell you about the life in the armed forces. Life in the armed forces is very, very challenging. It's very interesting, it is very adventurous, it is very satisfying because you lead a very good quality of life. The bonding, the camaraderie, the friendship, the togetherness is unique. You cannot find such camaraderie and bonding in any other service to my mind. It is almost incomparable. So that is it. If you are passionate to serve the nation, joining the armed forces would be an exceptional choice because you will be very, very satisfied with the work you do, the challenges you meet, because without challenges, life is very boring. So when you overcome those challenges, you feel very happy. Therefore, I would urge most of you to join the armed forces if you are medically fit, and I'm sure you'll enjoy your life. You may not have a very good standard of living in terms of monies, but you have a very high quality of life. It is almost unmatched. Then, services is very, very secular in outlook. It is determined to maintain national integration, work towards national integration, which is very important with, divisive forces working against the interests of the nation. And of course, armed forces are totally apolitical. Armed forces do not serve any political parties. We serve the government all right because they've been chosen by the people, but we serve the people. We serve the Constitution of India through the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, the President, because all powers actually is vested in the name of the President of India. So we are very clear as to where our interests lie. We are there to serve the people. The armed forces are very, very exclusive by nature, but they're very, very inclusive as far as the people are concerned, the country is concerned. That is why you see that armed forces are also called defense services. Why? We have so many services, which is catered for at the central level and state level, IAS, IPS, then railway protection, railway service, revenue service, and so many other services, police service, postal service, and many more. But armed forces, its primary job is to defend the nation's integrity, its sovereignty, protect the airspace frontiers, boundaries, maritime boundaries, and land borders. But it is also involved in serving the nation. Whenever you have a disaster, disaster relief operations is always undertaken by the armed forces. The first to arrive whenever, humanitarian assistance is required in disaster situation, the relief operations, the armed forces is the first to arrive and last to leave. They take all the rest to rescue our people, shelter them, give them food, clothing, logistics, medicines, look after them. Once everything comes to normal, then the armed forces leave that place. So that is the kind of service, selfless service the armed forces are doing, in terms of HADR operations, be it man-made or be it artificial, unmade artificial or natural, like earthquake, floods, cyclones, drought, and so many more. So you all understand how the life is in the armed forces. Now, next 10 minutes or so, I will speak to you, the students of the senior classes who are attending this, event, as to what the youth has to do in the future for the society, for the nation, etc. For oneself, for one's family, and for the school's reputation. Well, you are the young people, the youth of the nation. You are the future of the society, future of the nation, future of the humankind. The world is at your feet. The world stage is your playground as professionals. So you should be prepared to launch yourself on this platform, on this world stage, to contribute toward the society's good, toward the nation's good, towards international community, the humankind's good. So have you been preparing for that? To be a good professional, good entrepreneur, good service officer, armed forces officer? I'm sure you have done that. To a large extent, your first step has been joining Sainik School Purulion in this case. So you know exactly where you want to head, how you want to prepare yourself as an individual with a strong character who would like to meet challenges, etc. in life and contribute effectively toward the society. So you have taken the first step, very bold step and correctly. Now you need to build on that. So grooming is being done. And as I mentioned that how I was groomed, how my friends are groomed in the school, similarly you are being groomed and you will take up the challenges in the future to be a good citizen, good individual, and a good professional. Sorry, my throat is packing up, so I'm taking some hot tea. In the society that we are going to live in, or we live in, there are good, bad, and ugly aspects. So the strong points that you have in your character, in your profession, you have to use them to, strengthen the good things in the society. And also use your strengths as well as the weaknesses, you recover them by working on them so that everything becomes a strength for you. All those strengths you need to apply to rectify the bad elements and ugly aspects of the society. It's very difficult. And I'll tell you, what are the ills of the society that you'll have to battle? That will be your battleground. You may not battle the enemy and the borders like the armed forces do, but you'll have to battle it in your own society. So these are the challenges, the ills that the society has. I'll just tell some of them, but I'll deliberate on some of them, but you all know yourself. And once you land up in city street, you know exactly what the ills of the society are, which you need to fight and rectify. Firstly, poverty. Almost 30% of our people in India live below the poverty line, BPL. It is a humongous problem. The loss of human dignity because of poverty is a terrible thing to happen. We lose sensitivity of we lose humanness in our behavior because we see such poverty all the time, the difficulties, and we think it is normal. It is not normal. We need to be sensitive to the loss of human dignity because of poverty. And we all need to contribute towards elevating poverty in this country, not only the government. Second, lack of job opportunities, lack of good, adequate healthcare infrastructure, education infrastructure. These are the basic things in any society, in any nation. If we can be strong in our healthcare sector infrastructure, if we can be strong in education system infrastructure, then you will remember that there will be job opportunities, we will create people who have the skills. We can also, as entrepreneurs, contribute to the creation of jobs, not only the government. So That is how we should look at the overall problems of society. Lack of good governance is one, criminalization of political discourse in the country, intolerance, violence, corruption in every department, rise in crime due to economic distress and indiscipline, of course, disdain for rule of law. That is very difficult situation. That is what we need to correct. Exploitation of the weaker section, especially women, happens every day. Drugs and alcohol abuse is very prominent in our country, and environmental degradation is taking place every day. So these are the ills in our society, in the world, that as a citizen, as a responsible person, as a good professional, we have to fight in the future. Please do prepare yourself to take on these tasks in the future. Right. I have a few more things to say. I would like to give you solutions to the ills I have spoken. And it will come from the within of the youth that you are. First of all, I have 6 thumb rules to state, if you could take note of. One is building and preparing yourself, as I mentioned. Be a sound professional. Acquire good knowledge, as I mentioned. Read, and read. Not only spend time on your WhatsApp and Google, etc., but read relevant books and information that is available, because knowledge is power. With this knowledge and power, you can change things on the ground. You will get good ideas. Your mind will open like a parachute, and you will get influenced by it and motivated to do work, constructive work for the society. Secondly, you must be a very good human being and a responsible citizen, which I mentioned earlier as well. To be a very good human being, you got to have good compassion, a lot of compassion and empathy for the people who are suffering. And the essential attributes of a good citizen would be to have very positive attitude, courage to confront the challenges and overcome them. And you should not choose the easy way out when you're confronted with a challenge. Do not look for cheap popularity. Do not try and show off. I'll tell you one anecdote. In my old school in Bungaigaon, I remember 2 cadets. One was a very quiet guy. He believed in in himself, and he did not bother about others. He was always immersed in his own thoughts and activities. Slightly lazy, but he was a very good boxer, professional boxer, I thought. And there is one person who was extremely good in everything, especially outdoors. And he would tease this guy every time for whenever he found an opportunity. So they almost came to fighting each other. So our PTI, physical training instructor, Mr. Gurbachan Singh, noticed this. He said, okay, come here, both these boys. He asked us to make a circle around, and he quickly got hold of 2, pairs of gloves. He gave it to them. Come on, put on these gloves and you fight. Let me see. This boy, who was the extrovert guy, he did not know what hit him. Within a minute, the other guy, the quiet person, knocked him out because he knew how to box. And we all actually enjoyed that bout. That proved that if you try and show off and tease others all the time, you can face the consequences. The quiet types are very determined people. They'll always fight back when required. And that is what is essential in our character. Right. The third point is to be able to dream. Dream big, have aspirations. All of us must dream and have aspirations. Only if you dream, only if you have aspirations, will you get motivated. The motivation is always internal. The motivation doesn't come from anybody else. Motivation is from within. So when you dream, when you have aspirations, you will automatically get charged up to work for it and achieve it. That's why it's very important to dream and have aspirations. And you must have passion for the job that you do. Do well and enjoy it. Then only you'll be able to contribute effectively. Fourth point is converting challenges into opportunities. Life is full of challenges, but if you are going to take the negative view that challenges, I don't want to get into it, it's too much for me, and it will disturb my life, etc. And that is the end of that person. He will achieve nothing in life. So you have to accept challenges in your strides at a part of your life. And you should know how to work with your strengths to convert those challenges into opportunities and prove your mettle and do well in your profession. And in this regard, you need to work very hard with dedication to meet the challenges. You have to be disciplined so that you can face the challenges, the most difficult ones. And a little bit of luck is also important. Luck is like bonus. You should not depend on the luck or bonus to favor you. It should not be within your calculated plans of your achievements and your profession. I'll give you one example. In the armed forces, the hierarchy is very pyramidal in structure. The top is very sharp, and very few people reach the top, the pinnacle. It's the middle level where the shading takes place. The ratio of promotion is 1 in 15, 20 people. It's not that just 20 people are not good. They're all good, but there is no place for everybody in the organization. Similarly, in the star ranks like brigadier ranks and above, the competition is very, very stiff. It is 1:4, 1:3 at best. So out of 4, only one person will get the next rank. What about the other 3? They're all good, but there is no place for them. So I remember I should tell my wife Lily that I never told her anything about the armed forces. I thought that let her learn herself about the armed forces, let her enjoy life. Why give her challenges? And so I should tell her before any promotion board that Lily, I'm on the promotion board this time. I have seen the panel for promotion to Air Commodore rank. I find all of them as super. They're very good. So if I don't make it, don't feel bad because they are all equally deserving. And if I get my rank, it will be bonus. It will be my luck. So fortunately, the bonus came every time. I was very lucky. And the luck persisted till I became the chief of the air staff. So, but we should not plan for the luck factor bonus. We need to work hard, dedicatedly to achieve our objectives. The 5th point is ethics, ethos, and integrity. We all know that if wealth is lost, nothing is lost. The very famous saying, if health is lost, something is lost. But if you lose the integrity of your character, then everything is lost. It is so true. Integrity is very important. If you lack integrity, people will see through you and they will despise it. So that is very important. They'll have no faith in you as a leader or as a worker or as a colleague. In life, ethics and ethos are very important. Everybody doesn't have them. But most of my classmates, course mates, I know they have it. Because it was ingrained in our training, in our bringing up in the school. In life, there are very few things where decisions have to be taken. You make a choice. It is either black or white. But only 10% is black and 10% is white. That means go, no go. Yes or no. Very clear cut. 10% plus 10%. Black and white. But 80%, the remaining 80% of the area where you exercise your judgment to make decisions is grey. Shades of grey. I'm not talking about the 50 Shades of Grey that you must have read recently, some novel, an interesting novel, I think. But grey zone is the zone which proves the mettle of a leader. You have to make decisions. But how do you make decisions? Only on your discretion? Only what you feel is right and you implement it? No. Discretion is based on sense of fair play, sense of being transparent, making sure that what you do, the decision you make, should not only be correct, but it should also appear to be correct. And your conscience is very important in making those decisions in the gray area. So that is very important to my mind. This is where I just quote an oath which is given to all officers graduating, especially from IMA. In 1932, Field Marshal Philip Chetwood had come to India for the passing out parade of Indian Military Academy. He told them that you need to take an oath. This oath is called the Chetwood Code or Chetwood Dictum. He said, and I quote, that the safety, honor, and welfare of your nation comes first, always, and every time. The safety, honor, and welfare of the people you command, people who are under you, comes next. Your own safety, comfort, honor comes last, always, and every time. So this is a very simple thumb rule, kind of a litmus test. Whatever you decide to do, choose to do, you must put this decision to the litmus test of Chetwood Credo. Is this going to do good for the country? Yes, go ahead. Is this going to do good for the men? Yes, go ahead. Is it only going to do good for me? No. So it's very simple litmus test. Red area, and if it is green or blue, you just go ahead. So that is the kind of leadership, you got to exercise in making decisions. And the last point on the sixth point is being effective leaders. How do you become effective leader? This is what I have learned in my life, in the service career of 42 years. Every leader has got 3 different types of resources to work on to produce the results. This is the infrastructure, 1. 2 is the equipment, weapon systems, etc. So you have the infrastructure, buildings, etc., etc. You have the equipment to work on to produce the goods. And the third and the most important thing is the human resources. Who is going to convert the infrastructure and the equipment into capabilities? It is the human resources. They're the most valuable resource to a commander or a leader. If you have not developed the skills, human skills or soft skills, to lead your men, to guide your men, then one can never be a good leader. So it's very important that we work on human resources. I'll quote what is the vision statement of the Indian Air Force in this regard. It says, people first, mission always. What it means is that your mission, your objective of the organization is always there. That is what you're trying to strive to get hold of. But who is going to produce that? The people. So therefore, people has to be looked after. Then only you will get the results. Then only will you get the mission correct. Okay. So that is another aspect I thought I need to tell you. As a leader, you need to acquire hard skills, basically knowledge, tact, knowledge of the governance, knowledge of the rules, knowledge of economics, etc. And soft skills are human skills. Skills, how to manage people, how to motivate them, how to keep the morale high, and how you emotionally connect with people. At the end, I would like to narrate an incident. I've narrated so many incidents and anecdotes, but I'd like to narrate an incident from my own life in my flying career to bring out some of the aspects of leadership which I learned from an instructor at a very young age before I became an officer. After having done my NDA, reached AFA, having flown 2 types of aircraft and passed all those tests, etc. One I flew was an HT2, Hindustan Standard 2, built by HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. And then I flew the T6G Harvard, which is, a veteran fighter of the Second World War of the US. Having graduated from those 2 stages, I am now ready to fly the Kiran jet trainer, which is also built by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. I was waiting for my instructor to come, but before I could start flying, his reputation had traveled across because he was such a good professional. I learned before his arrival that he is the youngest qualified flying instructor. He is the most capable instructor with 1,000 hours of flying experience on the legendary MiG-21 fighter aircraft with a master green rating. That means you could fly in any weather condition because you're so good at it. And this kind of reputation actually made us very proud because I knew I would be his first student as a TO5 flying instructor. So when he arrived, I found him very jovial, nice person. But when it came to the profession of flying, he was extremely tough, very difficult. So he made sure that I learned of everything about the aircraft, its systems, its maneuvers, etc., the ejection seat, and all the emergencies, how to handle them in case something goes wrong in the air. And then I was taken up for my first sortie. It was the air experience sortie on the Kiran jet trainer HJT-16. He showed me around, he made me strap up on the ejection seat very tightly. I couldn't move my body, only the limbs could be moved. And he told me that this is what will save your life. You have to eject out of a crippled aircraft, the correct posture. So having ensured that, he started up the aircraft because the demonstration sortie, I had to do nothing. I was just observing things. He took the taxi to the runway, carried out a demonstration on the takeoff and climbed out into the sector, carried out many maneuvers, and finally he gave me the controls to handle the aircraft. I did some maneuvers, he helped me, and I found the aircraft was not as difficult as the first aircraft I flew, the HT2, most difficult aircraft to fly, but most forgiving aircraft that was. But at the end, when he returned at the top, before landing, at a height of 1,000 feet above the ground, at a distance of 10 kilometers from the runway, he started descending and to show me how the approach path would be to the landing dumbbell and how to land this aircraft, manage the flight parameters. At this stage, the engine failed. And he told me immediately, get ready to eject. The engine has failed, will not be able to make it to the runway. So I was flabbergasted. It was a shock to me. And immediately I took the correct posture and held the ejection seat handle, which when you pull, the ejection seat is fitted with cartridges and rocket motor, which would be ignited and it will throw out the pilot seat, ejection seat, into the air, thin air, so rapidly with an acceleration of 20 times the Earth's gravity. If your weight is 50 kilos under normal conditions up to 1g, that is 9.81 meters per second square. Actually, when you eject the seat through a seat, your weight will increase by 20 times. That means you will become 1,000 kgs. Can you imagine the stress and strain on the body, especially your spinal cord, etc. Right. So when he told me to get ready to eject, I took the correct posture. I started looking at him, through the corner of my eyes, his activities. He tried to relight the engine repeatedly but failed. He tried to jettison the canopy so that we could have a clean ejection into the air. That failed. He tried to jettison the canopy with the emergency system, which also failed. At this stage, we have already descended to 300 feet. We're just over 700 feet above the ground and would soon hit the ground. So we are losing height at the rate of 30 to 40 feet per second. So he told me to eject through the canopy. I hesitated for 2-3 seconds because I knew I might sustain some injuries or superficial injuries, of course, but I hesitated and I lost more height. At this stage, suddenly I felt a blast of air hitting my face and the body. I knew the canopy has flown off and I pulled the ejection seat handle. Immediately the seat fired and I was actually launched out of the aircraft like a cannon shell. As a result of that acceleration of 20 times Earth's gravity, acting from head to foot, all the blood in my brain and the eyes drained out toward the lower limbs. So my brain stopped functioning, my eyes couldn't see. So it's a blackout situation, it's called. So as the seat reached the top of the climb and it started toppling, the blood rushed back to the brains and the eyes and I could see things and sense things around. And that time the parachute opened. I looked up and saw the parachute canopy descending gradually towards the ground. I looked around for another parachute. My instructor's parachute, I couldn't see it. But at a distance of 3 kilometers or so, I found some smoke emanating from the ground. I thought that maybe the crashed aircraft site. Soon as about to reach the land, and a very strong wind of 20 knots, it was pulling my parachute. took the correct posture, landed, and rolled over. I got pulled by the wind for almost 20 meters, received some injuries on the back, very superficial ones. And as the canopy collapsed, I opened my quick release box, separated the parachute, took my helmet, started moving my legs and limbs to see if everything is okay. I found I was okay, and I started rushing toward the aircraft, smoking aircraft, to find my instructor on the way. After about 700 meters down the road, I found my instructor lying on the ground in great pain on his back. He couldn't get up. So I bent down, kneeled down in front of him, and tried to speak to him and tell him and ask him what the problem was. Where are the injuries? When he saw me, his face lit up with a smile. He was very happy that I was safe and I had gone through the ordeal without any injuries. He hugged me because he really loved his students and he was happy that no injuries to me. Immediately, an ambulance arrived from our academy, which was very close, and we were taken to the hospital, military hospital in Secunderabad. There, after 7 days of treatment, I was released. I returned to flying. He took 3 months to recover because he had very serious injuries. After I ejected, it was already down to about 600 feet or 500 feet. He had no time to take the correct posture. He ejected. Because of the delays I caused, his life was in jeopardy. As soon as the parachute opened, he landed and he sustained injuries. So, after he came back to flying with 3 months delay, he came and met me. I was very happy to see him, and he told me, "Come along." He took me to 2 bays where ejection seats and parachutes were serviced. He sought out the air warriors who serviced them for us in that aircraft that he used for ejection. He told me, "Thank them profusely for having done their job sincerely and correctly in terms of maintenance of the parachute and maintenance of the ejection seat cartridges." That is the time it dawned on me that I had not thought about various leadership aspects. The team building, giving credit to people who do their work, doesn't matter what level they are working. So that is a big lesson I learned from my teacher. From then onward, I started considering my guru. It happened on the 5th of September, the Teacher's Day. And every 5th September, I had wished him and because he was my guru for teaching me the right lessons in life, right in the beginning of my career. The lessons we learned was that we must learn to recognize the contribution of everyone. Rewards are important, and team building comes from such activities. Second, one must have integrity of character. I told you about the Chetut Credo. He was about to sacrifice his life for the life of the student because he followed that credo. Decision making was instantaneous, that my safety comes last. My student's safety is more important. And that's how actually he saved my life despite the risks to his life. Thirdly, discipline is very important. We followed all the drills, SOPs, standard operating procedures. And so these are the lessons I learned. And I think this is a lesson for everybody to learn in life, which will go all along in making our life comfortable. At the end, I would like to thank all of you for the patient hearing. I think I have taken almost an hour. I thought I finished in 45 minutes, but I think I spoke a lot. But it's been a nice opportunity for me. Once again, wish the school all the best for the 60 years of our establishment of Science School Purulia, the Diamond Jubilee year. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us. Now, I would indicate the cadets that you may ask if you have any question to the speaker. You may raise your hand towards asking the question. Cadets who are watching this particular live streaming through YouTube, you can type your questions in the chat section. Okay, Cadet Priyanshu Kumar from class 12 wish to ask a question. Cadet Priyanshu, you may ask the question. You can unmute your mic.
Good morning, sir.
Morning to you.
My name is Cadet Piyasu from class 12, and I will be giving UPSC examination in 2 months, and I ensure that I will also face the SSB. Sir, I'm extremely happy to talk to you from this online event. I would like to ask you, sir, what was the level of the sacrifice that you made to reach the apex? Means at times I hesitate to take such steps that I think that it is too much. This sacrifice is too much. But I want to know what is the level of the sacrifice that to do.
Sir,
You see,
before
yeah, yeah.
I would give one small input. He is word of an air warrior, sir. So
Okay, great, great. Okay, Priyanshu, thank you for the question. You know, no sacrifices, frankly speaking. Because when you enjoy something, flying is something I wanted to do. Only about 0.001% of the people fly, are pilots, and 0.0001% are fighter pilots. So every time I got airborne in a fighter aircraft, it was total ecstasy. It is like, getting drunk. More you fly, more you want to fly. Risks are there. Risks are there in every sacrifices there in every sphere, every profession. You ask a mariner, marine engineer or a marine guy. I have a lot of them. The sacrifices they make are far greater. The risks that they take are far greater than a military man. I can tell you that. Yes, if you have to fight your enemy, the probability of injuries or death is there. But then it is the passion that you're working for. The satisfaction is so high. If you're going to think only about the risk and the sacrifices that you'll have to make to be there, okay, then it will be very difficult for you to do well in any profession. Every profession has got its sacrifices. So it is not joining the military that you make large sacrifices. And as I said, the way of life, it is not a career joining the armed forces. It's a way of life. And you have so much of happiness, the bonding with your people, with your, your peer group, subordinates, and you really enjoy life. So it is not a sacrifice at all. So think it that way, take it positively, and when you take things positively, nothing is a sacrifice. Everything is a passionate work, and you'll enjoy your life. Okay, Priyanshu? I made no sacrifices.
thank you, sir. Sir, we have a question from Cadet Joy Roy Chaudhary, who is watching this particular webinar from YouTube. He is asking, sir, please narrate us about few leadership lessons which you have acquired when you were at school.
Okay, very, very interesting. Okay, in the school, leadership was being exercised in everything. May not be in academics as such, because academics is more or less individual contribution. But I believe, and even you have competition in academics in the school. Am I right? House-wise
Yes, sir.
competition. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
so obviously, you require leadership to goad people, to encourage people to perform better, so that the house would do well and gain them championship points. Similarly, in games, in NCC, in all other activities, we are exercising leadership roles in the school. I remember, the leadership roles I learned in the school came very handy in NDA, because we knew how to focus on the substantive issues of any competition, be it a cross country, be it football, be it hockey, be it cricket. So inter-unit competition, inter-house competition, leading your team, playing together as a team building are all leadership qualities. So I learned a lot from the school. Even when I attended the camps, sometimes we have made the senior most person or senior most appointment holder to lead the contingent, be it Republic Day Parade, be it the camps, be it sporting championship competition, the quadrangular meet that you have. You know, you have a school captain, you have a school vice captain, you have a games captain, and I happen to function in almost all these roles. And obviously, I gained a lot of experience from that. I understood that how things have to be dealt with, how to raise the morale of the people, how to encourage people to take the initiative to do well, etc. So you know how to build a team, how to encourage a team, how to get the best out of the people. And obviously, this was followed in NDA, in Air Force Academy, everywhere. In NDA, I must tell you, it's like bragging about my achievements. In the very first term itself, they made me the leader of my course in the squadron, 44th NDA Charlie Squadron, for the Josh Run. Josh Run is a run which you undertake, navigating, reaching there with backpacks, with rifles, the entire course of, 25 odd people. So what matters there is not only your brains or your thing to navigate correctly, reach the points, and but take everybody along, because you can reach a point unless the last person reaches with his heavy sacks and the rifle, you are not counted. So you have to work as a team. Similarly, in my fourth term also, my officer in charges trusted me to lead the squadron team. So there, once again, I had to guide my team. I knew who are the good people, who can do good map reading, who has got the strength to lift another weak person who is not coping, carry another rifle or the sack. So we came first both the times. Not because, I was good, but because the lessons I had learned in leadership in the school itself. So school gives you a lot of opportunities to learn leadership qualities and how to implement them to perform well as a team. So I think there are a lot of lessons in the school itself about leadership qualities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the cadets who are with us in Google Meet? You can ask. You can raise your hand. Okay, sir, we have a question from one of the viewer who is watching this particular webinar from YouTube. He's asking that, sir, as a pilot, one is required to take split-second decisions. How have you enhanced your decision-making skills, and how a cadet can enhance his decision-making skills over his 7 years in the school, sir? Thank you, sir.
Well, in the school, you may not have opportunities to make decision in a fraction of a second, like it is involved in flying, especially fighter flying, and you may be alone in the aircraft, no crews to help you or take some help. You have to react very quickly. Really, a fraction of a second, it could be life and death. So, how do you take those decisions? One, it is not only decision making. You are groomed to make those decisions. You are groomed to develop the skills to make those decisions in a fraction of a second. That is training. We go through very standardized training to understand the system, to understand what is going wrong, the symptoms of approach to a problem, and when it arrives, what you must do so you're mentally prepared. So our training is such, our simulator flying is such, our practices for emergency handling is such, where you have to act or react. Act emergencies are instantaneous. It should come automatically. You don't have to think, like when you have to abort takeoff. See, you're taking off in a fighter aircraft. You're about to reach the takeoff speed of about 300 kilometers per hour. You suddenly develop a problem. So the fire warning light comes on. What do? There is no time to think and react. It's an act emergency. That means it should, learnt it backwards. Then in such a case, first thing I'll do is switch off the engine, deploy the chute, start the brakes so that I can stop the aircraft. And then, as I stop the aircraft and operate the fire extinguisher, get out of the aircraft quickly. So this training is done every day, especially act emergencies. React emergency is one, okay, you'll find that your hydraulics are depleting, it might fail. So you have enough time to react. You can take out your checklist and say what all you need to do, or you can ask for some help from somebody from the air traffic control who will read out all the checks to be carried out. How to lower your undercarriage, how to lower your flaps, what all you should use, how you should make the approach and land, etc., etc. So react emergency is different from act emergency. There are many, many act emergencies. Suppose your engine fails on the finals, and you know that you cannot make it to the runway. You have to eject immediately so that you can save your life. In case you have come down below certain parameters, then you have to land straight ahead. You have no option. So these are already trained, inbuilt. We practice in the simulator, we practice in the cockpit without starting the engine almost every day. So decision making is not a problem because you've learned about the approach of problems, you've learned about what actions need to be taken immediately and subsequently to overcome the emergency. And in case of very critical emergencies, you know what exactly you have to do. So that is like your second nature. So you really don't require, very great minds to do that. It's the training, the skill development that gives you these abilities to take split-second decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have a question from Cadet MD Fida Hussain of class 10. Cadet Fida Hussain, you can ask.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Sir, myself, Pvsm, and I am from class 10. And my question is, how many years you have served as Air Chief Marshal?
Oh, okay. Now I served as the Air Chief Marshal for 3 years, and I was the chief, in the head of the Chiefs of Staff Committees. It's called COSC, being the senior most general among the 3 chiefs for 2.5 years. So those are very difficult times. That is at a different level, so I didn't cover those aspects here. But there are too many challenges to handle because so far you have grown in a well, like a frog in a well, okay, in the Air Force or the Armed Forces. Where you have your subordinates, your friends, and colleagues, juniors, everybody is from the Armed Forces. It's very different to deal with them. It's so easy, I would say, because we are disciplined force, we know what is right, wrong, and instructions are obeyed. But in those positions at the Chief of the Air Staff, at the Chairmanship of Staff Committee, you have to deal with bureaucrats, you have to deal with politicians, you have to deal with members of parliament, you have to deal with Prime Minister, National Security Advisor, bureaucrats, Defense Ministry, Finance Ministry, Road Transport Ministry, Shipping Ministry, it's a huge, humongous task. And you also have issues like pay commission, one rank, one pension, other service-related issues, which has to be taken up with the government for approval of the proposal. Similarly, acquisition of equipment and web systems is a very big issue. Finance Ministry has got a stranglehold on the entire budget of all the ministries, including the Defense Ministry. Even if the money is allotted to you, even after deduction, etc., that money you cannot spend as the Raksha Mantri or the Air Chief or the Chairman Chiefs of Staff Committee. It has to be once again be approved by the Finance Ministry, so they hold you by the neck before they release those funds to get equipment. So the challenges are of a different kind. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Cadets, if you have a question, you can raise your hand. Okay, Cadet Biswadeep Kar from class 12, Chitran House has a question, sir. Cadet Biswadeep, you may ask the question, please. Your camera
Hello,
is
sir.
not adjusted properly. You may
Yeah.
kindly adjust
Should you
it.
go ahead?
Sir, I am Biswadeep Kar of class 12. Sir, my question is that how the pilots are allowed. Means sir, how, when we go to NDA, how one become a means sir, fighter pilot. One become trained to drive a helicopter.
Okay, I've
Means how
understood.
the
Okay. Vishwadeep, I'll just answer your question. Right. When you go to NDA, when you appear for the ND examination and SSB, etc., you actually fill up the column which service you want to join, Army, Navy, or the Air Force. You give your preferences. So for my case, the Air Force was the first choice, then the Army, then the Navy, things like that. So when you pass the SSB, Service Selection Board, you have to go through a PABT test, which you all know, a pilot aptitude battery test, which has been improved now, become more digital than mechanical, to see your hand-mind coordination. Okay, so once you pass that, you are qualified to become a pilot. Then you go for medical. In the medical, they check you out for various things, whether you are fit to become a pilot, whether your body, length of legs and etc., and other features will suit the cockpit of a fighter cockpit or otherwise and things like that. So once you clear the medical, then you join NDA as Air Force cadet. Okay, you finish your training, you do some Air Force training as well as some gliding, etc. Then from there you go to Air Force Academy where you fly various aircraft. After the second stage, normally, okay, 2 stages you complete before you start the third phase, which is specific aircraft type: fighter, transport, helicopter. So at the end of that second term or tenure, you you go through a trifurcation board, which consists of senior people, QFIs, your instructors, etc. There are 3 things looked into. One is, what is the cadet's choice? Does he want to be a fighter pilot, transport pilot? So your choice sought. Second, what is the aptitude of the person? Okay, will he make a good fighter pilot, etc., etc. Third is, how many vacancies do we have for each stream: fighter, transport, helicopters? Based on that and all the inputs, opinions of the instructors, etc., in that board, we trifurcate people into 3 streams based on the vacancies available at that time. So the choice is yours. Capability is checked out by instructors, and the vacancies are limited. Therefore, we have a happy solution out of these three factors to make one go to fighters, helicopters, or transports. Okay.
yes sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it was a real honor to hear you today, sir. And on behalf of all the cadets, staff, and the SPNs, I would really like to thank you for taking out your valuable time to interact with us, sir. And more than a talk, I would say that we all felt that we are reading a book titled Journey of an Air Warrior. That is the feeling which we got. And it was really like you have caught the hands of the cadets and took them for a walk right from their cadet days till the time you reach the top of the hill. So that is the feeling which we all got, and it was more of a heart-to-heart talk, and not only for cadets, for the teachers as well. And during our interactions, I always used to tell the teachers the best compliment or the best recognition we can get as a teacher is the way our cadets or students remember us. And it was so warm and so encouraging for all the teachers to see you remembering all your teachers of your era with so much love, fond, and remembrance. So that will be a great motivating factor for the teachers also. And it was really so nice to have you, sir. And we'll be troubling you even further when the cadets are back to the school, sir. And that time we'll be requesting you to come in person so that it will be more motivating for all the cadets. With that, I'll
Definitely. I'll be looking forward to coming to the school. As I said, we want to renew and rejuvenate ourselves
Yes, sir.
with the alma mater
Yes, sir.
by being there.
Sir.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
it will be honored to have you here, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so
very
much, sir.
All the
Sir.
best. All the best.
And
do
thank you
well.
so much, sir.
Okay.
Jai, sir.
Right. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir.